Iowa Postgame with Cory Brada is proudly presented by Brad Van Meter at State Farm in Des Moines. Call Brad for a free quote on auto, life, renters, and even homeowners insurance at 515-256-6480 or visit www.bradvanmeter.com. 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines, Iowa. Brad has been a great sponsor of the show for some time now, allowing us to continue doing what we do here. So please support Brad as he supports us by calling 515-256-6480 or visiting www.bradvanmeter.com at Fleur Drive in Des Moines, Iowa for all of your insurance needs. Well, this is a tough one. Your Iowa Hawkeyes were the second best basketball team on the court tonight. And then you get your second favorite host of the postgame show, Kyle Spence Golf. Hi, kid. I'm happy to be here as always. Had a little bit of a break away from the show, so it's good to be back. Cory had some schedule conflicts, may join us later. We'll see. I'm sure he's currently crying into a bowl of ice cream and watching the Dallas Mavericks get beat down by the Los Angeles Lakers in prime time by Luka Doncic. But that's a subject for a different day. Today we are talking about a 20-point Big Ten loss again. And I don't know what to say. I really don't. This team is now 3-9 in the last 12 games. And 5 of them have been by double figures, including tonight. And, there's nights like tonight where it's tough to come on here, but, Cory has more of a filter. Cory has a reputation to upkeep. And as much as I want to represent Cory on this platform that I'm thankful that he has entrusted me with, I don't. So I will probably be a little bit more unfiltered than what Cory would be, because I am beyond disgusted with the state of this program, with the way that they have performed now for some time. Basically the entirety of this season from start to finish, barring a couple games here and there. This has been an embarrassment. This has been a disgrace. And the way that they played basketball tonight was absolutely horrible. And there's a million places I could start. The first thing I want every single one of you to do, if you have a computer in front of you, okay? I want you to go to ESPN.com and go to Iowa men's basketball and go and look at the shot chart from tonight's game. This is the kind of stuff that drives me absolutely insane. Because what you see, if you look at that shot chart, is you see a million of those. In fact, I'll share it with you on the screen here because I'm so annoyed by it. Let's go. Share the screen. Here we go. This doesn't look like much to a lot of you. This is a disgrace. The number of circles right underneath the basket, within 3 feet of the basket. The number of circles that are not present in the mid-range because you didn't force them to take a single difficult shot the entire game. The number of, let's take a look at the three-point line, right? The number of circles in the short corner where everybody knows the driving kick is going. If you drive and you break down the defense, where's that ball going first if the defense collapses? It's going to the corner. And that's the second shot that every single basketball team on planet Earth in the NCAA or in the NBA is looking for besides a layup when they drive. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a drive that leads to a layup or a dunk. And if they don't get that, the second thing they're looking for is a kick to the corner for a wide open three. That's what they're looking for. And it drives me crazy when I see shot charts like this with no mid-range jump shots and no contested threes. None of them. Illinois beat Iowa by 20 points tonight, and they shot 31% from three, as you can see on the left side of the screen there. And how many three-point shots did they attempt? Let's see, because you're kind of following this journey with me as I'm looking at this box score for the first time. They attempted 29 threes tonight. Probably 25 of them were uncontested. Probably 25 of them were uncontested. If Illinois shoots the three at a respectable clip tonight, based on the shot quality that they got, they win this game by 30 plus. 30 plus. And that's not to even talk about the offense that was moribund, that was uncoordinated, that was unintentional, that was settling. Not a single person on that basketball team tonight played significant minutes, and we'll talk about others that didn't, committed to what they were doing tonight. Every single person that handled the basketball looked unsure of themselves. Every single person that made a pass looked unsure of themselves, that they looked like they figured somebody was going to jump the passing lane. Every single person that took a shot from distance tonight looked unsure of themselves. Every single thing they did looked uncommitted, and they scored 61 points. And honestly, I don't even know how they did it. I don't know. If I would have watched that game with no scoreboard up, I would have thought they scored 50, because it looked like they had no idea what they were even trying to do most of the time. Not, had any idea what they were doing. They had no idea what they were even trying to do. 16 turnovers to 5 turnovers. No ball pressure to force turnovers. And being completely loose with the basketball from the start to the finish. This is not a basketball team traditionally that turns the basketball over 16 times in a game. And when you are minus 11 in the turnovers and you let a team shoot 51% from the field, despite shooting 31% from three, that is an embarrassment. If we take away the three-point shot tonight and we look at what Illinois did tonight in the paint, what were they? They were 32 of 63 from the field and 9 of 29 from three. So basically they were, what's that? They took 34 shots from two and made 23 of them. They shot 65% from two. They shot 65% from two. What a joke. What a joke. What a joke. What an embarrassment. What a travesty. This basketball team is lost. They may not make the Big Ten tournament as of right now, because we know in the new Big Ten, the bottom 3 teams in the conference don't make the Big Ten tournament anymore. Right now, they're tied for third to last in the standings. And I don't know what the tiebreakers are or how it's going to pan out from here to the end. But this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. This is horrible. This is embarrassing. I mean, I'm looking at the box score for the first time with everybody. And Illinois shot a better percentage from two and made way more 2-point baskets. They made more threes. They made one more free throw than Iowa. The only thing, ironically, that Iowa won tonight was the rebounding battle. The rebounding battle, of all things. And obviously, Illinois, they detailed it during the broadcast. You all heard it. They're missing their best rebounder on their basketball team because he has a broken wrist. So do we even give him credit for that? I don't know. Kind of. I'll give him half credit. The only thing they won tonight was rebounding. Illinois had more assists. They had 7 steals to Iowa's 1, which means horrifically that 8 of Iowa's turnovers were just thrown out of bounds. Not even plays that Illinois made. They were plays that Iowa threw away. Illinois had 17 points off of Iowa turnovers. Illinois had more fast break points. They had more points in the paint, 42 points in the paint. Half their points coming less than 10 feet from the basket. Iowa committed more fouls and never led from start to finish. Not 30 seconds into the game, not 10 minutes into the game, not 20 minutes into the game. Start to finish, wire to wire. I don't know what to say. I really don't. We'll try our best to stick around here for the better part of an hour. This is not going to be a super long post-game show. Cory's not here. I don't have any callers in the live chat, and I don't blame you. I would love to talk to you guys. If anybody wants to call in, the link's in the description as always. I'm going to pop it in the chat one more time here. There you go. It's in the chat. Call in. We can talk about the disaster that is the 2024-2025 Iowa men's basketball team. And not to mention, by the way, we just talked about this game. Illinois is in the middle of a massive skid. Illinois had lost 3 straight basketball games. And before any of you come at me, I know they were against good teams. They were against Duke, who might be the best team in the country, Wisconsin, and Michigan State, who are both really good basketball teams. I'm not denying that. They are really good basketball teams that they lost to. They gave up 110 points to Duke less than a week ago. 110 points and scored 67. They gave up 95 points to Wisconsin, the team that Iowa gave 116 up to, granted. But they gave up 95 to Wisconsin. And they lost to Michigan State by 14. This Illinois team is a middle-of-the-pack, mediocre Big Ten team. This is not your Illinois from the last 5 years. Illinois has been, if not the best program in the Big Ten, one of the best programs in the Big Ten for about 5 years running. Since Io DeSumo turned that program around, they have been borderline the gold standard. They are not this year. Before that 3-game skid, they were 5-5 in their last 10. So even if you take the 3-game skid out, their last 2 months has been pathetic for their standards. Not pathetic for Big Ten standards because they've been average, but they have lost. They have a double-digit loss to USC. They have 2 losses to Michigan State, no harm, no foul. They lost by 21 at home to Maryland. They lost to Nebraska, who we don't have a lot of respect for. They lost at Rutgers when Rutgers can't seem to beat anybody. This was not even a quality opponent. It was a quality arena. Orange Crush showed up, as they always do, and as Iowa's student section never does. The arena was bouncing. It's a great environment. There's no doubt. But the competition was not great tonight. And you have a team led by a freshman who is middle of the pack, who did whatever they want, got whatever shots they wanted, and pushed Iowa around for 40 minutes tonight. And again, I'm going in circles. I don't know what to say. We're going to hit some sponsors because we got to get that stuff in. People support the show, and we're very grateful for that. And then we'll get to, we do have a couple of callers in the line now that I've thrown the link in a couple of times and asked for some company on here. We're gonna have some company. But let's get into it. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm seeing it a lot in the chat right now, Fran McCaffrey under no circumstances, and I mean no circumstances, can return next year as the head coach if you want to win. If you want this program back in March Madness, if you want this program in the second weekend or have a prayer at the second weekend, you change your head coach. You just do. We're way beyond that point right now. Anybody talking tournament at this point, it's over. It has been over. I think I commented to Cory, maybe, I can't remember if it was on the stream or in the chat, like in the first week of January that the season was over, because all the warning signs were there. But it's over. They've got, what do they have? 3 basketball games left, which are against, they're on the road at Northwestern, against Michigan State at home, who will clobber them. And then they'll go to Nebraska. Maybe they'll win one of those games. Maybe they'll make the Big Ten tournament and they'll get bounced in the first round, as they typically do, besides 2022. And hopefully at that point, we'll have a change and a reset and an opportunity to move forward. I don't care what recruits we lose. I don't care what assistant coaches we lose. Program reset right now, because you have a coach who hasn't recruited athletes, doesn't coach defense, not even a little bit, doesn't even try to coach defense, who doesn't help the NIL environment that they have, or the NIL situation that they have going on. Maybe he doesn't hurt it. I don't know. But he doesn't help it. And he has no interest in getting fans in the stands. If they show up, they show up. It's time for a change. All right. Now that my rant's over, let's get to some of our sponsors, and then we're gonna go ahead and take some callers. Shop RTI Threads. Some of the players from this forgettable basketball team, Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, and Josh Dix, do have their merch up on RTI Threads. There is custom apparel up on there. We'll go through the website later, and we'll show everybody how to put an order in. But Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix all have merchandise up there. It is good stuff. We appreciate RTA Threads for their support of the show through thick and thin. They've been a great sponsor and a great partner for us through the last year or two of Hawkeye sports, football, and basketball. Again, we really appreciate RTI Threads and their support of the show. So shop RTI Threads on their website at rtithreads.com/NIL. And by Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix, Cooper DeJean still up there, many other players. Check their apparel out on rtithreads.com/NIL. Let's go ahead and get to our first caller of the night and give me some company in this misery. James, how we doing?
Obviously we could do better, but to me, I'm not surprised. And to me, it's more the fact of we don't barely beat Washington, who's even worse of a team than Illinois is, right? And I looked at it that way, where I was like, coming into this, I was like, I knew we probably were going to lose just because we don't play defense. 1, 2, we almost lost to a Washington team that's not very good. It's just like things are spiraling out of control, and they want to say they care, but if they care so much, they don't sometimes seem to be acting like they care. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm not saying they don't care at all, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they seem with some of their play style that they don't care, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with you. It's there's apathy on the part of the fans, and maybe it's not apathy on the part of the players, but to me, this is just me, right? If my team was in a slide like this, you would go out there and you would be diving on the floor for loose balls. You would be hounding people defensively. You would be like, I would be at this point, I would be trying to prove a point, show a point of like, okay, we're not going to get out of this by being lethargic. We're not going to get out of this by doing what we've been doing, right? And they just continue to come out there with very similar lineups, with very similar game plans, with very similar offensive sets, very similar defense, and they're just content to run it every single game. And there's nobody, bar I think 1 or 2 players, that genuinely look consistently like they want to be out on the floor.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's what the thing is, like, they're always like, oh, we care. But it's like, even if Brand doesn't preach defense, it doesn't take, if you care. So I'm just going to use a player for an example. I'm not going to say this player cares or not, right? But I'm going to use Peyton for an example, right? If he says he cares, like he does care, even if Fran doesn't preach defense as much, you still can hound that one guy, right? If you're hounding that one guy, nobody else is, you're at least showing that you care more, right? But it's like they're all just doing the same thing, like you said in your point, and that's what's frustrating. It's like you say you care, but yet one of you don't want to make the effort to hound. Not even one of you want to make the effort to hound somebody on defense to show you care, or pass the ball up for a better look to show you care. You just want to check up a shot sometimes, and it's like that's what is frustrating part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, as somebody, and I'm gonna get on Peyton Sanford tonight, and people are gonna think I'm harsh, and I'll probably get on some other guys, but especially for somebody like him who is supposed to be and we won't go too far down this road, but supposed to be the NBA, the future NBA senior, future G League senior, or whatever, European professional senior, like was supposed to be the best player on this basketball team. Like, you don't think that him going out there and saying, okay, I'm going to play defense today. I'm going to, even if it means I play less minutes because I'm tired, I'm going to go in and for 28 minutes, you're going to get maximum effort, maximum defense. You don't think that would trickle down to other people?
No, it definitely does because he's the leader or
Absolutely.
whoever the leader is.
Yeah, he's the
team.
senior. It's your job. Like, nobody, I mean, there's nobody else that I can look at in terms of being on the roster that I look at and go, it's your job to lead. It's Peyton Sandfort's job. Like, when you needed a basket or you needed a rebound or you needed some hustle, Luka Garza did that. Like, whether or not he was a great defensive player, he did that.
Right. I mean, he's another example of another guy who I know people have up and down relationship with, right? But a guy that I know somebody knows him personally, J-Bo, right? J-Bo would always hit that big shot in this big situation, right? He might not have played the best defense, right? But what would he do on the offensive end? He'd make up for it, right? He'd hit the shot that needs to be hit, right? So whether he's playing defense or not, he's still hitting that shot that you need to be hitting.
Did you have any, like, whether or not the shot missed with Jordan Bohannon, did you ever have any doubt that he believed in himself and that he was 100% committed to what he did?
No, I knew he knew most 90% of shots he took he could make. Early in the year, it's more that 10%. More that 10% is more early in his career, right? But like 10% of shots he took, he knew he at least could make, right? Like, and that's the thing. I think Peyton sometimes just chucks it, and you'll see him even chuck it even when he hits 2 or 3 in a row. He'll take another bad one because like, oh, I've hit 2 or 3 in a row, right? And he does that a lot of times, right? Where he'll like, oh, I hit 2 in a row. Let me chuck the next one.
He does the LeBron James thing where he hits 1 3 and then he's coming down and shooting a logo 3.
Yeah, and it's just like it's frustrating because it's like, and especially with him because he says he cares so much. He's always said this before. We hear him in every press conference, like, "Yeah, I care. Yeah, I want to do this," but yet it doesn't seem like he's trying to show how to be a leader. Yet he says he cares.
Yeah,
but I feel like I agree with you, and I've always said this. Obviously, Fran needs to go, but I'm a fan, so I'm gonna support them either way. Unfortunately, right? Like that's just how I am. I'm gonna be a fan no matter whether he's a coach or not. I think he should go, whether he goes or not. I'm a fan, and that's just how I am, right? Like I'm a fan of a team. I don't flip flop, right? So unfortunately, I'm gonna support them no matter what. But we've seen this for so many years, and the defensive part doesn't even shock me anymore because I know they're not gonna play defense, right? Like I just don't expect it. So I know going into the game they don't play defense. And I know if their shots ain't hitting, you're going to lose because you don't play defense, right? And that's the bad thing. And the thing you were talking about earlier about them scoring 51, or 61, they scored 61 or 51. It was 61.
I scored 61. It felt like 51, didn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying you can win a game if you score 61. If you understand how to play defense, if you can get some stops, you can win a game scoring 61. But the way this team is put together by the coach that they have, they can't win a game scoring 61, if that makes sense, right? But like
they can win a basketball game one way.
Yeah.
One way.
They have to score in the 80s a lot of times.
Yeah.
To even win a game, right? They have to score in the 80s or even around that number even to win, right? But I'm saying good teams find ways to win. Not even good teams, even like an Illinois team find a way to win. Illinois probably is a better player than anybody on this whole roster with Yakushonis, however you say his name, Yakushonis, however you want to say his name. But still, even in that case, you still shouldn't have got beat by 20. If you're going to lose, you shouldn't have got beat by 20 of that team. And that's the only thing I think about. I didn't think we were the better team. I thought they were with Yakushonis because I think he's underrated player, obviously top 10 draft pick for sure in the NBA. You know, he's a really good freshman. But I just wanted to see them fight. And that's the only thing. If we're going to lose, if we're not going to make the tournament, that's one thing, right? But just to go out and just lay down and let the other team beat you is when I get frustrated, right?
Yeah. It's like I ask myself all the time, like, okay, they say the fans are not there. What are you doing to make fans want to watch this? Like, why should a fan watch a game like this tonight from start to finish? Which I watched it from start to finish. You probably watched it from start to finish, and there are a lot of devoted fans that watched it from start to finish. But the casual fans, how are you going to put that product out on the floor and then say, donate to NIL, show up to games, interact on social media, get excited about our program? How are you supposed to ask them to do that? Like, nobody's going to do that.
Right. Well, you're not, and they also, and a lot of the casual fans look at like scores and records. When they see you getting beat by 20 plus, 30 plus some nights, right? It's like, why am I going to even pay attention? 'Cause some people, some casual fans don't even really watch the game. They just see the score, and they look at the score where they're like, okay, I see this team losing by 20 or 30. I'm not going to even want to focus on how this team is doing. And
Yeah.
that's also a frustrating part where it's like, oh, well, we've seen this team. And then they want to talk about support for the girls. Like the girls have made runs, they made it to the national championship games, right? So that's why they get the support because they made that run. And obviously they have one of the most generational talents of all generational talents, right? And Caitlin Clark, and obviously the men don't have that, right? But still, you can, even if you make a tournament, you make a Sweet 16, you make one Sweet 16 run, one Elite 8 run, you're getting those
Yeah.
guys back, right? Like, and that's the thing they don't realize, right? You can get the fans back if you make a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run, right?
Yeah.
But they don't even do that. They barely even make the tournament. They barely even squeak into the tournament or make the NIT, and they want to understand or be like, why don't these people show up?
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
it's frustrating to see, and
It's brutal. It's going to be brutal.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
I think
it's
it'd
gonna
be.
be
I think
it's
the
gonna
most
be a
interesting
tough
part,
next week.
the most interesting part for me is the buyout coming up because like I think Fran's just gonna step away. I don't even think he's gonna get bought out. I think he's just gonna step away because I think it's the only way he's gonna step away. And I'm not that. I don't think they're gonna buy him out. I just don't see a world where they buy him out because I don't think they're gonna pay that 7 point whatever it is. And I know people say it's 7 point whatever, but like to some
Yeah.
schools that's big money, right? And I get Iowa has more money than most people, right? But who says the higher up people are going to pay that seven whatever $1 million it is to buy him out, right? Like
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and there's a good possibility that sometimes when this situation happens, they kind of walk away or they
yeah,
retire or they settle for I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I mean, what happens if Fran just says, I want the entire buyout.
yeah,
I'm
and
not
then
I'm
that
not going to walk away. You're going to have to fire me and you're going to have to pay me.
yeah,
Like
and see that's where I think things could get murky with the whole situation of like, do they want to pay the full seven? And I know people are like, you pay, but that's not our choice, right? That's the university's choice, right? And it's like, do they really feel like paying that 7 point whatever million, right? And then if they do that, do they look at it in the lens of like, okay, let's pay out the buyout, right? But then they look at it as okay, we gotta go a little bit cheaper on the next coach because we just paid a buyout, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah,
saying that they would do that, but there's an option that they could think of. Oh, we gotta go cheaper with the next coach because we just paid a buyout. We gotta
yeah.
worry about money here.
And then it's just this big snowball effect of okay, now the next guy that we got is not the quality that we wanted, and
Yeah,
we're not setting him up with NIL resources because everybody's money is drained from paying the
yeah.
massive Fran McCaffrey buyout. And
That's what
this
I'm
I mean,
saying. So it's gonna be a very tough thing to read and tough situation to see, but we'll see what happens. And obviously, we know there's no tournament, so I think that makes it easier for me to watch the NCAA tournament knowing there's not them because I don't have to stress over them playing or are they gonna win or are they gonna how are they gonna look, that makes it a little bit easier to watch, but also it sucks when they're not in it because you want your team to be in there, if that makes sense.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's if anything, it makes these last few games because at least last year, they didn't make the tournament, but with 5 games left, they did still have a chance. Like if they would
Yeah,
have won 3 or 4 of their last 5, they still would have made it.
yeah,
This team, and I know, have been. I mean, ever since they lost to Wisconsin by 31, they've been dead. I think everybody knew after that loss. And I don't remember what they were in conference play at that point. They lost to Michigan and beat I don't even know Northwestern or somebody
yeah,
on the
something like that. I know they beat Northwestern before that,
yeah,
but
they beat Northwestern on the Josh Dix buzzer beater. But I mean, after you saw that, every single person knew this team was dead, and it's just, I mean, it's depressing to not only know they're not going dancing to the tournament, but they're they were done weeks ago. They just were finished after whatever. I mean, maybe you say okay, technically they weren't eliminated after Wisconsin, but after they went out west and they lost both games, and then they go to Minnesota or they host Minnesota and they blow a game to a bad Minnesota team, and then at some point in there, we can all agree sometime in January they were finished. Late January
yeah,
they were done.
yeah, for sure.
That's a depressing place to be.
Yeah, but I'll let you get to the other callers and just it's tough to watch and obviously it's not the season we wanted and you look at even the guys they brought in the portal with that well and Troy, maybe you thought it would go a little different way, but we just gotta see what the future holds and sorry everybody had to watch that game tonight. I know it's frustrating as a fan, but I'm happy everybody still supports the team. I mean, I know they don't maybe deserve support from some other people's things, but I know there's some people that do work hard, right? Even like the walk-ons, right? Like Kingsbury and them guys, like they work hard, to get your support sometimes. And we've been through this, and I know how tough it is, but we just got to keep getting through it, unfortunately. It could be worse. We had to look like it as a coach once, right? So obviously at some points we know what worse can be, right? So
Yeah, I
we'll
know.
be all right, and we'll all get through it at some point. So
Yeah, it can't get worse than this.
yeah.
Well, James, I appreciate you sticking with us. I appreciate our 130 listeners that are sticking with us through these tough times, and hopefully there'll be better days ahead.
Yep, I'll talk to you later. Enjoy your night.
Absolutely. Thank you, James. While we're at it, go ahead and follow Cory on Twitter at From the Hawkeye. He will be back either later tonight, possibly, or well, probably not after the way that game played out. But if not, definitely by the next game. So go ahead and give him a follow on Twitter. Contributions are appreciated. Links are down in the description. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. All that stuff is set up in the description. Share the show on social media. Get us out there. Obviously, it's not great for business when they go on the road and they get blown out by 20. So any help in any form is appreciated, as always. Like and subscribe. We do have some breaking news in jest. I'm going to roll this at the bottom of the screen for the rest of the night because you guys don't care about looking at Josh Dick's 11 points and Peyton Sanford going 2 of 10 from the field. The bottom ticker for the rest of tonight is going to be an announcement that I'm making on behalf of the University of Iowa for the rest of the season. And it's a name change for men's basketball. University of Iowa announces renaming of men's basketball team to Iowa Get Right Hawkeyes. Because if you need a get right game, you play the Hawkeyes. Iowa Get Right Hawkeyes. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. Let's go through the box score really quickly as if anybody needs to see it. I'll pull it up here on the screen again in case you guys missed it at the very start. Peyton Sanford, NBA prospect Peyton Sanford, going 2 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. Did have 7 rebounds and 4 assists, but only reported 7 points tonight. Seydou Traore with 5 points. No show. Laji Dembele actually had a couple nice moments, 9 points, 4 rebounds, but that's not enough. It's just not. Brock Harding, 16 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 6 of 12 from the field. You might think, oh, Brock had a good game. One of the worst defensive guard performances that you'll see this year in the Big Ten. 5 turnovers. No. 42% from the field for your Iowa Hawkeyes, 33% from 3, 6 of 18 from 3, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. Didn't get to the free throw line even 10 times tonight in a game where they couldn't hit outside shots. 6 off the bench for Evan Bronze, 1 3 from Carter Kingsbury, 2 points from Price Sanford. You know, the lineup, it was what was it? It was Price, Kingsbury, Peyton. I can't remember who else was in the game at the very end. Those last 5 minutes, they showed more fight than they did the first 35. I was so confused. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that, but once they started to press, when they were down, what were they down? 24 or 21 at that point? I don't know. They showed more effort in those last 5 minutes that than they did in the first 35. And yeah, again, I don't know. I don't know what to say. All right. We're going to get to another quick sponsorship point. I'm going to talk about some friends that we have that are looking out for us in these tough times. Brad Van Meter has been a great sponsor of the show. As I said at the outset, Iowa Postgame with Cory Brada is presented by Brad Van Meter at State Farm in Des Moines. Call Brad for a free quote on auto, life, renters, and even homeowners insurance at 515-256-6480 or visit bradvanmeter.com. You can see him at Fleur Drive in Des Moines, Iowa. Again, that's Brad Van Meter at 515-256-6480 or bradvanmeter.com for all of your insurance needs. Thank you very much to Brad for being here through these dark, tough times and supporting the show. We do appreciate Brad very, very much. And let's go ahead while we're at it, and we're going to give our friends at RTI Threads a quick shout out before I completely forget and get lost in another rant. The RTI Threads website, as you can see, Aaron Graves, Jacob Gill, Cooper DeJean, not listed here. I think he's still on there somewhere. But Peyton Sanford, Owen Freeman, Josh Dix up here. If we go into Owen Freeman's page here, as you can see, lots of merchandise with his logo on it. Same with the other two players, similar layouts, lots of sizes available, colors available. So purchases that may help you to feel better, during the rest of this season, as we have to watch this and wait for the women's basketball tournament and football season next year. All right, let's go ahead and get to our next caller. It's our good friend, Darrell MVP. Darrell, how we doing?
It seems like you've hit rock bottom, Kyle. Is that fair to say?
In a fan sense, yes. Now, I've got plenty of other stuff outside of Iowa basketball that's going fine, but in terms of Iowa fandom, the football team underperformed by at least 2 games this year, and then the women lost 5 straight, and this. So yeah, it's you know what's toughest about it for me is you think back to like 2021. You had a football team that got up to second in the country. You had a Luka Garza-led basketball team that was like top 10 in the country all year. And you had a sophomore, Caitlin Clark, leading Iowa to, what was it, the Sweet 16 they lost to UConn?
Yeah, something like that.
Or no, that was your freshman year. The sophomore year, they lost to Creighton in the second round. But you had hope in all 3 sports. All 3 sports were competitive. All 3 sports were positive. And I don't know. It's just from there to then you had from there to now you had the Brian Ferentz fiasco. You've got this with the last 2 years of just horrid defense. The only bright spot has been women's basketball. And that's, it's just tough to see where the major sports have gone from 3 years ago to today.
Yeah, I mean, the women's team, I'll give them I don't think they belong in the same category as the men's or the football team. I mean, they almost beat UCLA. They beat USC. I could see them making a Sweet 16, or if the bracket falls their way, an Elite 8 run, depending on their level of play. I mean, all the metrics supported. They look good. I think it was just for the women's team, their coach didn't have the right chemistry with the team. She didn't really know what she was doing since the first year. Halfway, it kind of just clicked with all of them, and then they've just taken off. So I'm really optimistic for the future of the women's team. Yeah. But Kyle, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think you're stating enough how bad the Iowa team is. Like, I would say it's favored to not make the Big Ten tournament right now.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose Darrell? Looks like we lost Darrell. We're going to add Darrell back into the mix in just one moment. Let me just see if that Wi-Fi clears itself up. I don't know if that was me on my end, but let's see. Darrell, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry if I don't know if I cut out or you cut out or what, but we're back. I guess I was going to tell too much truth to power, and I got cut off. But I don't think you're telling how bad it's been this year. I mean, at the beginning, when they announced, let's go back a year and a half ago when USC and UCLA, Oregon, Washington decide, hey, we're going to the Big Ten. They announced this Big Ten tournament. Like, there wasn't a single person that thought, man, Iowa could be eliminated from the Big Ten tournament. Everyone, I remember Cory Brada saying probably 3 West Coast teams are going to be eliminated from this thing. I was not probably favored. I would favor Iowa not to make the Big Ten tournament right now because they lose the tiebreaker to Minnesota. They play at Northwestern, and I know Northwestern's not any good, but guess what? Iowa's not any good either. They could easily lose that game.
Darrell, we did this 2 months ago. I went through with Cory, and Cory was actually surprised at this point. I think it was after – when was it? We did this. It was It wasn't Wisconsin. It was a little after Wisconsin. And I went through the rest of their games. It was after the West Coast swing. And I went through the rest of their games, and they were favored one time. Like, the odds makers don't respect them. Opponents don't respect them. Nobody respects them. They're not, there's no, like, you can look on the schedule and you used to see 4 or 5 kind of automatic wins out of 10 games. There's no automatic wins when you're this bad. That's the sad part. There's no nights to look forward to.
Right. Why shouldn't any odds makers or anybody respect you when you keep getting run off the court?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you shouldn't lose by 5 or 6 times in a single season in your own conference. I'm sorry. The talent gap between Iowa and these teams like even UCLA, Wisconsin, tonight against Illinois is not consistently 20 points. I know Iowa's roster, it nearly isn't as good as it been over the past few years. I know they don't have a Luka Garza, but they don't have scrubs playing out there. It's not like we're out there playing out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think this team has an identity crisis, and I think you talk about a leadership crisis. I think it's worse than that. I don't think they know what they are leading for. So even if somebody wanted to be a leader, I don't think they understand what their end goal is what is their main objective they're trying to do over the course of the game. Like in Iowa's ideal basketball game, what's 4 or 5 things they are trying to do? Because the only thing I can think of is, hey, we shoot a bunch of threes, and that's it.
Yeah. And by the way, in reality, the stats don't bear the 3-point thing out. Like, they don't shoot an inordinate amount of threes like this year or last year or the year before. Like, the number of threes that they shoot, so they're known as like this high-scoring, fast-paced 3-point shooting team. Like, they don't even do that. Like, so you're, to your point, like, how many possessions in the second half of this game? Like, I'm not talking about the last 5 minutes. I'm talking about when the game was in question, when Illinois was going on that run. From halftime to 5 minutes left in the game, how many possessions did you get the sense that they were looking for a particular shot and they got it?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know when I'm watching Iowa basketball. I don't know what they're trying to do out there. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the goal is watching them play. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know what their identity is on the offensive end in the court. I know their defensive identity, which is they've got no identity.
Their defensive identity is they don't play defense.
Exactly.
Their defensive identity is the guards wait to cherry pick. That's what the defensive identity is. The guards get blown by, like their feet are nailed to the floor. They have no rim protection, and then they run for outlet passes. That's their identity.
Right. I'm looking just at the score. It looks like from the box score of the game, it looks like from 16:29 all the way to 11:15. That was last. Between that, you had a 5-minute gap of Iowa making shots. Now, they had 2 free throws within that span. But you know how difficult it is going to be in a game when you're not making a single basket within a 5-minute period and you don't play defense?
Yeah.
I don't care who you're playing.
And
as long as you're not
was that like an 8-0, 10-0 run in that span? Or I guess you said 2 free throws, so maybe like a 10-2 run or a 12-2 run?
It went 49 to 6. Wow. It's 49 to 63, or 62, so that'd be 13-2 or 13-4.
Yeah.
And Iowa, unfortunately, with the way they play on defense, if you're down double digits, you basically know it's over.
Yeah.
Unless they get hot. That's the only way they can come back. They can't stop anybody for 2 or 3 possessions, grind it out, have a shot clock violation, and do tough man defense, hard blue collar stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to be consistent. Just out shooting everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, like tonight when you're just going to let Illinois shoot whatever it was like 23 of 34, I think, from 2, which is 68% for anybody that's keeping track at home. I just did that on my computer. When you let somebody shoot 68% from 2, you have to shoot like 50% from 3 or higher to make up for that. Like, and they've got to make 2-point shots, which they have no inside presence. And, besides not even having a presence inside, do they have a player who is a presence as a driver? Like Illinois, it wasn't like Illinois had this big that they just pounded the ball into every possession. Like they didn't pound the ball into a center, and that was how they got their 42 points in the paint. They had athletic wings that drove the basketball. Iowa doesn't have an inside presence, and they don't have athletic wings to drive the basketball. They have nothing to score inside consistently, and now they're not shooting well from three. Anyways,
Yeah, you need like a Tony Perkins type guard. That
yes.
he was my
at least. Yeah, you could do
right.
something.
But my issue is like I'm not worried about Iowa making the NCAA tournament because I hate to spoil the end of the season. They're not, but I know they've got this crown type tournament. I don't think Iowa's making that because they're not going to be. They're not making. What are they even going to make the CBI?
I don't know. I don't know what the regulations are for all that. I mean, they're 15-13, so they lose out. They're not even a 500 basketball team, and that includes their 8 or 10 cupcakes at the start of the year. I mean, they play East Texas A&M, Southern, South Dakota, Rider, SC Upstate, New Orleans, New Hampshire. So they had 7 gimmies, and they're still not going to finish 500, or they're gonna finish right on 500.
Well, Michigan State's probably an L. So at best, they're going to finish in the regular season 17-14.
Yeah, at best 17-14, and then at worst they could lose all 3 and finish 15-16, right?
Right, below 500.
Yeah,
and not qualify for the Big Ten tournament. Probably not qualify for any postseason tournament at all. And I feel like, in some way, that may be the best case scenario because it's better to at least have the complete bottom fall out and have a hard reset than it is to be in this mushy state where almost nobody has confidence going forward, but you keep them around because you've got this fake hopium of well, he did kind of good at the end of the season, and look, he won a tournament game in the Big Ten, and he upsetted somebody, wasn't that nice? And then he went to this meaningless tournament, he won 2 or 3 games because nobody's playing their starters because these tournaments are filled of opt-outs and stuff. All that stuff gets filed. So if it's just kind of over with, hard and crash, you can have a reset, and I think that'll be best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said that 2 months ago. Honestly, I don't know if I said it on here, but I said it to Cory at one point. I was like, honestly, my ideal finish to the season, my perfect finish to the season, is either they completely defy the odds and they make the tournament comfortably and we're all shocked, or if that's not going to happen, just let everything fall apart and let it just all go to crap and force a reset, because obviously what they're doing is not working. And just like you said, it was the same thing with Brian Ferentz. We all said, the argument of we won 10 games, I'm not going to change anything because we won 10 games. And it took that 7-5 season for them to get embarrassed like that. And I know they didn't make the change right after that, but it took a season like that where they did underperform. And then another embarrassing season to then get rid of Brian. And that would have happened quicker if they would have just had 1 4-8 year, which testament to Kirk. He's so good at what he does in terms of keeping the team together, playing great defense, playing special teams, playing disciplined, that he didn't allow them to bottom out like that, the way that Fran is allowing this team to bottom out. But again, you're totally right. It is better long-term for them to just crash out, bottom out, and force the AD's hand, force Beth Goetz's hand to make a change.
Right. Now, I don't know what this guy in the chat's talking about, Tyler Young. I just Googled it to make sure the College Basketball Invitational is still happening. I know hardly any of the games are on TV, so, it's like if a tree falls in the wood, nobody's around here, it doesn't actually fall. But according to the Dayton Beach News Journal, it's happening on March 22nd through 26th in Dayton Beach, the Ocean Center. So if Tony can, he's this bracketology expert basically, and he knows all these random facts about turn. Ask him if he comes on here about the CBI and what the rules and regulations are of the CBI, because I'm not joking. That's probably the only tournament Iowa can get invited to this year.
And you know what? I think Tony is one of about 5 people in the world who will know the regulations.
I know. Listen, man, let me give you some hope, since I've been pretty harsh. So let me give you some hope, okay?
Okay.
I'm a Kentucky fan. So let me tell you about my rivals down the road, the Louisville Cardinals, okay?
Okay.
You think this is bad. Louisville, in year one under their new head coach, Kenny Payne, 3 years ago, had 4-28. 4-28. Year two, 8-24. They won 12 games in 2 years. Okay? Iowa's won more games than they did in 2 years. The bottom completely fell out. Like, you think you all fall? They completely fell. They had not even, like, anger.
And Louisville is a better basketball program than Iowa.
Right. Right. So what happens? They get a coach from the College of Charleston, Pat Kelsey, young, energetic guy, visionary, loves the three-point shot. They are currently 22-6 in the ACC and the second best team in the ACC. He's probably going to be coach of the year. They're definitely in March Madness. And all they did was they gutted the whole system out. They got in their staff, their players, and in year one, they completely turned it around. Now, I know Iowa isn't the prestige of Louisville, but their fall was much further than you all. So I think you all can go back to your normal making the tournament and getting a decent seed.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like with Iowa basketball fans, like Iowa football fans, I think at this point, like there is an expectation, there is a standard of like, you don't win at least 7, 8, 9 games. Like if Iowa football goes an entire year and they don't appear in any of the rankings, as they basically haven't, except for the 10-2 year, I guess, in 2021 and 23. But like of the last 3 years, like it's been a little disappointing where we've had long stretches of them being unranked. Like with Iowa basketball fans, if you produced a year in, year out 7 seed, 6 seed, and you made a Sweet 16 once every 5 years, I think Iowa basketball fans would be significantly happier or significantly more satisfied with that than like a Louisville fan or some, a more basketball-y program fan would be, right? Like the standard is not Final Four. Like that's not where we are, and that's not who we are. And I think we all know that. Like if we could just get an annual tournament team that we feel going into the tournament has hope of winning 2 games, we would be, and does win 2 games in the tournament, by the way, every once in a while. Not a team like what Fran built that we thought maybe would win 2 games or more in the tournament and then just bailed out, in round 1 or round 2.
I mean, shoot, even South Carolina's made a Final Four recently, somewhat recently.
Yeah. NC State made a Final Four.
Yeah. Last year, St. Peter's almost made the Final Four. St. Peter's was 1 game away from making the Final Four.
In a close game too. Didn't they lose? Would they lose by like 8?
I don't know. I think they got blown out in the Carolina game.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they lost by.
They just didn't have the depth, but it was, if St.
But they won more tournament games in a single tournament than Fran McCaffrey's ever won.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, St. Peter's, the Peacocks.
Well, and also, I think Chevy Toyota here brings up a good point. Michigan basketball just went through the same thing, where they were with Juwan Howard, a complete joke. I mean, he's the Scott Frost of college basketball. Complete gutted the program, got their guys in, went to a mid-major coach with the FAU, Dusty May, and now they're leading. Well, I don't think they're leading the conference. I think they're second and third because they lost to Michigan State. But, dude, if Iowa was second or third in the Big Ten right now or next year, I think you all would take that in a heartbeat.
We're doing somersaults for that. And by the way, the other nice point that I like here in the chat, and I've said this over and over again, so is Cory, but Fran has had no postseason success. He didn't win with 3 National Player of the Years. This is the point. He has not built up the cachet of other coaches at Iowa. He did not build up Lisa Bluter's cachet and safety and job security. He did not build up Kirk Ferentz's job security. He didn't. He never did. Like, he hasn't built up this big cushion so that when he has 2 or 3 down years, he can just kind of gradually wear at that and rely on that to keep fans on his side, right? If you don't have postseason success, you don't win games when it matters, even when you're good, you don't earn the right to unrivaled, unquestionable job security. You don't. And he never did that.
I think that's a great point. I think looking back at it, recent times, I think he really should have at least won that Richmond game. I mean, that
Yeah.
Richmond team was,
that was the start of the end, I think.
yeah, there's no reason to lose to that team. That team went on a Cinderella run in the A10, I believe it is. And these teams change conferences so much, so I may have gotten that wrong. But they were like the 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah, they were. I was going to say they were not a top 4 seed in a small conference. Like,
right. So if you all can't beat that team,
and you had an NBA. What pick was Keegan? Was he was top 5, right?
Yeah, he went to the Kings.
Yeah, four at the Kings.
Yeah.
And so you had a number 4 overall pick on your team. You were the 5 seed. You had just won the Big Ten tournament. So we're finally like, okay, he got the Big Ten tournament, monkey off his back, so to speak. Maybe this is the year. And you had you had analysts back then picking Iowa to go to the Final Four. I remember several of them did their brackets and they put Keegan Murray's Iowa Hawkeyes in the Final Four. And then it was just over. And then Keegan left and Chris was the next guy up, and they lost and they lost and they lost. And they missed the tournament the next year. And now here we are.
I got you. The only thing, let me ask you this as a final question. If you had today to put your money on it, yes or no proposition, he gets fired at the season. Fran gets fired at the end of the season.
I mean, I don't – at this point, I'm going to say yes, not because I have any, insider knowledge about what Beth Getz is thinking. I'm saying yes because at this point it feels unconscionable not to move on, right? Because one of the things I can't remember if it was Doug in the chat or in the call line here that said this, or somebody said this when they called in, and I agree with it when they said it. But basically, that the teams when the Big Ten tournament had 3 teams, scheduled to have 3 teams that would miss the tournament, it would basically create a dynamic where, okay, you miss the Big Ten tournament, you're fired. Coaches that miss the Big Ten tournament, you're gone. If they miss the Big Ten now, if they were to win 2 of their last 3, maybe that goes to a 60-40 proposition or a 70-30 proposition. I still think he gets fired in that case, but if they lose their last 3, it's I just don't. I mean, Darrell, can you make an argument from the most pro fan perspective about why you should keep Fran McCaffrey after missing the tournament twice and never going to the Sweet 16?
The only thing I can make is an argument, and I don't know this, is how's the recruiting look like? How's that stuff looking going forward?
It's okay. It's not. I mean, I can pull it up here. I know it's not bad. In fact, I think he's recruited some of his better prospects as of recently. Let's go. Okay, Iowa basketball recruiting. I want to pull up just so we can get star ratings and stuff. I know there's some more athletic players in there as opposed to previous seasons. Yeah, I mean, he's got let's see here. I've got an ad blocker on, so it's not letting me. Well,
this is an interesting idea from Spotted Eagle. He says he thinks Fran will be given the option to at least resign on his own.
He will. My question is, if he has the $7 million buyout, is he going to accept it? Is he going to they'll have to, I would think if he's going to walk away, they're going to have to pay him at least $2 million in some kind of settlement. Right?
Yeah.
Surely he's not going to just walk away from all of the $7 million, right?
I wouldn't. I don't know about you, Kyle, but I wouldn't.
No, and that's not. I'm not even saying that as a slight against Fran, because I think, if you're looking out for your family, you're looking out for future generations of McCaffreys. I take the $7 million. I don't know. I wouldn't turn it down if I were him, or I would at least, if I was going to walk away willingly, it'd be okay, maybe 50% of the settlement. And I might consider walking away, but even then, you're still leaving $3.5 million on the table, and he's comfortable in Iowa and all that stuff. He's got next year. What they've got is they've got that transfer from Miami after their coach retired midway through the season. He'll join them. They've got 2 3-stars, and then they've got Joshua Lewis, who 247 has Hawkeye Insider, our friends at 247. Joshua Lewis, who's a 4-star and is the 15th ranked small forward in the next class, and he's a hard commit, 6'7" prospect committed in January. So they have. I mean, it's half decent recruiting, but like at this point, like if they lost all three, I mean, I guess one of the 3-stars has signed his letter of intent, so he's most of the way in. But like even say they lost all those guys, like honestly, I'd rather lose them and lose Fran than keep Fran and keep those guys. Like those guys are here today, gone tomorrow. Like for all you know, that 4-star is going to come in and transfer in 2 years for NIL money. Like
I got you.
You're worried about the next 10 years of your program. You can't, leave everything on one 4-star prospect that may or may not pan out.
I got you. I saw Doug in the chat earlier. I know he was a brand defender. I don't know where he's at exactly now. I would love for him to, if he's not in the back room, for him to answer these questions.
You know what, Daryl, we'll do this for a few minutes and then I'll get to. I've got another caller on the line. Let's throw Doug in. Doug, I'll let you speak for yourself. I know your heart. We'll let you speak for yourself.
Well, I was just called a Drake fan, so that's why I won here. But right now, Drake probably finished 10th or 11th in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's tough, but we're going to finish 15th. So we should be looking down at anybody. No, I'm at the point where I said this. The 3 coaches that don't make the Big Ten tournament either need to be in their first season or on their way out. You can't be in your 16th season and not make the Big Ten tournament. You have to have an established program. And again, there's just no energy in this program. I go to a lot of games. I go with my father. The only reason why we didn't go to the Washington game was because we had this commitment in Florida that we were doing. But when there's only about 4,000 or 5,000 fans at a game, that starts to cost you money. When people are talking about the buyout, well, do 5,000 times, let's say $25 when you put in concessions and all that. That starts to add up to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of lost revenue. There's just no passion in the program. And I would really liked it. The coaching changes are fun, and I don't get to do it as a Hawkeye fan. I don't get to experience a lot of those. And I think there's a lot of – I do not think Brand's the best coach for us improving. And I think we could even be better next year depending on what happens with who we hire and what players they bring in. Because people I remember coaches now with the transfer portal, I don't really care who stays. I mean, I'd like Dix to stay. I think Cooper, because of the legacy, will probably stay. Those 4 recruits, if there's a coaching change, probably are not back. We might have 3 or 4 of these players back. That's what happened when Prone left. That year 2, they had, I think, 1 Prone player left. Year 3, they had none. So, and with the transfer portal, if Owen and Brock want to transfer. It's just, you're 100% right. You need to pull the Band-Aid off. And I wasn't saying like Drake had a whole lot of better players, but they have 2 or 3. That Bennett Stoltz is a much better player than Brock Hardy. And Amanda said, "You're not pissed off about Brock's brother," but I mean,
he can come right here because I don't care that he scored 16 points. I do not care. He was not good tonight again.
And someone mentioned Peyton's over dribbling is the thing. They look like chicken. Even on offense, they look like chickens with their heads cut off. It's like I don't understand.
I'm going to ask you this question, Doug. I've asked Daryl. I've asked everybody tonight. How many possessions in the second half did they look like they came down the court and were looking for a specific shot, and they were going down the court with intent to get that shot, and they got it? How many possessions?
I have no idea.
Maybe 2 or 3 out of the entire second half. I mean, I don't have a number. I'm just asking. Like,
they're
watching the game. I thought almost none.
Yeah, I don't even know. Again, I don't know if it's a lack of having a post presence. I don't know, but their offense. I don't know where they can get a bucket if they need a bucket. It isn't Peyton. Josh can get that mid range shot, but that's like not a great shot to be counting on. That should be like our third choice.
Yeah.
You know,
And by the way, I don't know if you were on when I did the shot chart thing at the beginning of the stream.
I'm on my phone, but I had a hard time seeing it. But yeah, I got the idea.
You can always tell if you go to NBA games, you go to NCAA games, you watch whatever basketball game you want. If you pull that shot chart up and you see 15 2-point jump shots, I can show you a loss most of the time. Because those, and I mean, all the coaches are doing analytics now.
Yep.
Everybody knows that's the least efficient shot in basketball now. It's a contested or partially contested 2-point shot.
Yep.
And as much as I like Josh, it's not like you're saying, it's not a shot that you can ride or die on. I'd rather you live and die by the 3 because you get 3 points for making it.
Yep. 33% from 3 is same as 50% from 2, you know? So,
yeah.
And that's not a 50% 2-point shot, you know, for most people.
No.
And a lot of, you know, a good 3-point shooter, Josh can shoot 40% from the 3-point line. And that's why I don't understand why he's taking that shot. I mean, they run some of those flare screens, and I don't know why. Again, I just think they could have, you're 100% right. They should have better shot selection, and that's coaching too. And
Dean Sanford legitimately has the worst shot selection of any basketball player I have ever closely observed, bar one.
Yep.
Only one person I can think of that had worse shot selection than Peyton Sanford, and it's J.R. Smith.
Okay.
That's the only person that I can ever remember watching that takes more bad shots than Peyton Sanford. And J.R. Smith made a ton of them. So I don't know. I watching, like, they tip off. They're 30 seconds into the basketball game, and he comes along around a screen and shoots a contested 3 off the dribble, fading sideways, and airballs it. And it's like, from that point on, it's like, where do you go from there? Like,
well, and he's an emotional shooter. He's a streaky shooter. So set him up with a better shot, you know. And you know, the better his shot selection, common sense, better his percentage will be. You know, that's just common sense. And I don't know what they tried. I mean, I understand their emotional offense a little bit, but I don't understand why he does some of the things he does. And someone in the chat, no one's saying he's an NBA player. Even last year, he can't defend anyone. He can't defend anyone in the G League. So he won't play in the G League either. And not because his shooting is in.
And you know why? It's even worse for him if he goes to the G League versus the NBA. Because the G League players, I don't know if anybody, because like I watched a little bit of it when Luka was on the Iowa Wolves and stuff like that. The G League players are trying to prove to NBA teams that they're valuable. They are trying to cook you. Like they're trying to, they're D'ing up hard. They're playing hard defense because that's how they get called up. And they're trying to make highlight plays on offense. He's going to get exposed.
Yeah, he cannot play for the Iowa Wolves next year. And I'm a big fan. He's a good shooter when he makes good shots. He's an okay rebounder. He's a horrible defender. The people in chat that won't always knock me on saying dumb stuff, he can't defend anyone in the G League. Maybe some slow 7-foot white guy, but he'll get blown by every time. You know, they'll isolate him on the side and just, you know, so he's a defensive liability here. He's even a worse defensive liability there, you know. So
this reminds me similar of what I went through with John Calipari. It sounds like, now I'm just speculating here, so maybe you all can assume I'm wrong. It sounds like a coach who is set in his ways and believes he is the correct person because he has accolades and achievements and the wins and the experience to back up his thinking, and he doesn't want to change it.
If he was asked, like, genuinely why he should be the coach, like Calipari, he would point to stuff 5 years ago.
Yep.
He wouldn't point to stuff right now.
Oh, I can see Brian saying, because I am the coach.
Yeah.
I
The way
remember
that he answers, like in Hawk Talk, some of the questions he answers in Hawk Talk about like stuff that he know. I mean, in Hawk Talk, they're not trying to call for his job on Hawk Talk. Everyone knows that. But like the way that he answers some of those questions, you could just tell he's like, you know, not that I don't even know if he's consciously trying to do it, but he's like, you can't ask me that question.
Well, I remember when Admire from WHO asked him a question, and somebody asked him a question, and he goes, "Why is that a stupid question?" He goes, because I say so. Like,
Yeah.
what, Fran? Like, what coach does? Yeah, Fran. There's a lot of things we won't miss about Fran, but he always treated me and one of my last outings with my mother was going and meeting Fran at Hawk Talk, and he's always really a nice guy. But again, even there, he was bitching about refs. When we came over to talk to him, he has a chip on his shoulder, and I think it would be hard for him to make huge changes. I think he's trying to, and I think those changes are affecting his coaching. I think he really is trying to change some of the behaviors that we have grown not to like, and now that is affecting. Like, sometimes you just can't think; you just have to do your job. And I think it's the time that we just need to change. We need new energy. I just really would like to coach these shirts, because there's at least a dozen candidates that could do a really good job at Iowa, and I'm probably gonna leave after saying this point. Iowa can win in basketball, men's basketball, and and there's coaches out there, and a Sweet 16 every 4 years is very much something that should be a standard, not a, oh my God, this is once in a generation. Because you're pretty young, and I doubt you remember '99 very well. And
I was not born in '99. I was born in 2000.
Yeah. Going to Sweet 16, we should at least be going to a Final Four once in a generation, not going to a Sweet 16 once in a generation. And Fran has given his time. But like some people are saying, we're not that. This is probably his second or third worst team, and we're not that far off of Licklider type of numbers, both in attendance and just talent. I know that when you take Owen and Drew, and again, I will not give him the benefit of the doubt with injuries. I won't give him the benefit of the doubt that Carter's playing, Riley's playing. I mean, Evan Braun, these guys are Missouri Valley players at best, and we're playing them. I won't say Peyton is, but Peyton's a role player on most Big Ten teams. And, we don't have a,
he's a spot up shooter at most Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
He's a catch and shoot.
Duncan Robinson. If he was playing, but Duncan Robinson at Michigan, look at his statistics. That's what he should be for us. And that's what, but nope, not a Drake fan. I'm just saying I really like Bennett Schultz, really like Ben McCullough. Call him, or again, I'm bad with names. Anyone wants to mock me in the chat about being bad with names, I'm bad with names. Again, I like Bryce Drew, Will Wade. I like so many coaches. I would love just to be on here with you, Kyle, and Darrell and Ryan and all of my buddies on here and talk about coaching change one of these days. Because most like Kentucky, you guys get to do it. We should be able to do it someday. So
yeah.
Well, I could say this is the most worrying part is Doug isn't happy about something. Like every time I'm on here for the past 4 years, Doug is always in like this perfect happy mood, and today he's like at a funeral with his energy level.
It feels that way. It feels 3-9 in the last 12 games. It feels like this is the end of Fran's era.
And by the way, it's not like there's 9 competitive losses there. There's 5 or 6 of them are non-competitive.
Yes. Yeah, it feels a little bit like a funeral drill. It does. And in the next 3 games, they might win 1 or 2 of them, and they might make the Big Ten tournament. But again,
does it even matter if they make the Big Ten tournament, they're a 15, 14 seed, and they lose close in the first game? Does that even matter?
It doesn't matter to, I think, 90% of people. I want to win every game. It just matters it's more basketball. But I sure hope with Beth that one game here or there doesn't make the difference. I hope that she's leaning the way she should lean right now, and it's about 90% certain that she should let it go. But I don't know. She might be 50-50 right now. She might be 25-75.
I would say if it wasn't for the money, it would be 100-0.
Yeah. And I've heard different things, and James always says different things with the buyout too. And I trust James. I like James. I was told it was on his base salary, not necessarily off of all. I don't know. I've heard everywhere from 4 million to 7 million. So I don't know. But
I don't think if they fire him after this year, the entire buyout $7 million. People have thrown that. I think that's just the remaining like salary on his contract. I think he gets half of that or something.
yeah, I was told he gets 60% of whatever his remaining contract is, and I have no idea because he supposedly makes $3.5 million a year. This is another thing I was going to say. A lot of coaches out there don't make $3.5 million a year. We're paying $3.5 million for this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Good point.
I mean, I don't know what the Drake coach, Darren DeVries makes barely that. I think he makes somewhere around 3.5 at West Virginia. I mean, like I said, Bryce Drew, Will Wade, lower division guys, they're hovering around $1 million. So, yeah.
Real
but no, I mean, Iowa has a $140 million athletic budget. They get a lot of money. They get from TV deal. People are comparing Iowa State to. I mean, Iowa State had to dish out about $10 million, get rid of Prom and bring in TJ with the UNLV money and the Prom money, and probably will have to dish out $10-12 million. But again, getting 12,000, 13,000 fans all buying Carver cones and into the facility can make up that revenue. I mean, right now he's costing a lot of money too. I mean, because again, I don't know how the whole thing works, but we're in the Big Ten. We should be able to definitely at least attract a lower division coach, and I know Cory and my father both really like Chris Collins, and I don't know what that would be, but he's only at $2 million or 2.5 or something. Yeah. So there's a lot of coaches. And someone said this in the chat. Utah got rid of Smith, and that was one of our wins. So the team that we beat got rid of their coach. So
I think they got rid of their coach because we beat them.
I really do. They're like, you lost to Iowa, and you're not going to make. They got rid of their coach simply because he didn't make the tournament in 3 years, and we're at 2 years without making the tournament. I can't go 3 years without making the tournament. I'm saying, and especially with
now, I could go 3 years without a tournament appearance. Like if next year we don't make it because of a transition.
Yes. If there's hope, What again? Other than a couple $1 million, which is a lot of money, changes next year because he's not going to the Sweet 16 next year. No. And I'm the biggest Hawkeye fan. Somebody might call me a Drake fan again, but that's okay. But nothing's happening now to make anything better. He has 3 years left on his contract. All we're doing is make him even more of a lame duck coach. So, but again, I am very frustrated, and it does feel like a funeral and for Hawkeye basketball. But the thing about Iowa basketball and athletics is you can have a rebirth. And so there can definitely be a change in regard and a rebirth. And that's the reason why fans and people like that rebirth and that optimism. We know what we're getting with Fran, and we know even at our best, we're not getting the Sweet 16 next year. And even if you're completely delusional, which I am sometimes, I know that. And so I'm just ready for the change. So there's energy, so there's positivity, so we don't have to go through a whole summer of negativity. And again, and thank you all. And if I say anything dumb in the live chat, I apologize. I wasn't trying to. I just didn't like being called a Drake fan.
I'm not, dude. I came on here and ranted for 30 minutes and got called all sorts of names in the chat. I'm so far gone. I'm not looking.
Well, and again, I always like it when I get to have a different voice to talk to. So I look forward to hopefully in a few weeks, probably talking to you guys about a coaching change. And have a good night, and let's see how they do on Friday. But Friday doesn't change anything. It doesn't. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Doug. Good to have Doug on as always. Certainly one of our most knowledgeable callers, especially as it Regards, Iowa basketball. For anyone interested in KenPom, they're now 174th in defense in the country, 174th, 29th in offense, which actually for Iowa, of course, through the last several years has been pretty low. Yeah, those numbers are not pretty. They're 71st in KenPom overall. So yeah, obviously one of the worst Big Ten teams in KenPom. I'm going to do something really quickly because I haven't hit our RTI Threads player of the game. And it's for a reason, because honest to goodness, I had no idea who to pick, because if you look at the box score, you could make an argument for Brock Harding, and he had some nice moments tonight. But he had 5 turnovers and played horrible on defense. I mean, horrible. So I'm going to do something out of protest. And there's going to be some people that don't like this, and Cory will probably give me some grief for it later. The RTI Threads player of the game is Evan Bronze, who took 3 shots, made all 3, and scored 6 points. And the reason why Evan is the RTI Threads player of the game is not even necessarily because of how he played tonight. It's because of his attitude over the last 3 games. It's the only thing on this team I can think to reward with an RTI Threads player of the game. Evan goes out there, and from the minute he checks in, I see the intensity, I see the passion, I see the want to. I see somebody that wants to wear the black and gold and wants to play hard from start to finish when he's in the game. I see a high-quality person. I see a high-character person. I see somebody that when he says in a post-game interview, I cherish playing in this jersey, he means it. And I know Evan personally. I've spent time around him in my childhood. He was a neighbor of mine, so I'm maybe slightly biased, but he's a high-quality, high-character person. And I trust when he goes in the game, whether or not he's making plays, his head will be up. He will be positive. He will play hard. And I appreciate that. So Evan Bronze is your player of the game. I'm doing it out of protest. Some people might say, oh, he only scored 6 points. Part of my frustration and why I'm doing this as well is he played like 4 minutes in the second half after playing what I thought were 10 really good minutes in the first half. And I didn't really understand why they didn't put him back in the game, because I thought he was bringing it on offense, bringing it on defense. And I know he got scored on a few times. Some people made some shots over him. I don't know. I'm not worried about that at this point in the season. I'm worried about guys that come in with a mission, come in with an objective, and he knows his role. He looks committed to what he's doing, and I appreciate that. So Evan Bronze is your RTI Threads player of the game again. We appreciate Evan's contributions as a senior, and I'm honestly disappointed that they have not utilized him to this point, because I personally believe, and people may disagree with this again, that he has proven over the last couple of games that he is their most consistent option in terms of energy at the center position that they have since Owen Freeman went down. So I would, if I was looking to jolt some energy into this team, I would start him against Northwestern and see how it goes. And if you need to limit him in terms of minutes at 15 or 20 minutes again, that's fine. Start him, see what happens. I bet it would be better than a lot of what we've seen. So RTI Threads player of the game is Evan Bronze. Appreciate RTI. Like I said earlier in the show, for their continued support. We went through their website earlier, but check them out. We'll throw the banner up here one more time. Shop RTI Threads, Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix merchandise, other custom merchandise at rtithreads.com/NIL. All right, we've got 2 more callers in the call-in line here. So we'll get through these last couple, and then we'll call it a night. Shane, how we doing?
Well, considering what just happened on my TV, it could have been better.
Yeah.
Couple of things. I totally agree with you about Evan. If he doesn't start the last 3 games, it should be a criminal charge against Fran McCaffrey. I mean, he reminds me a lot, even though they don't play the same position, of Nicholas Bear when he came into a game.
Oh, yeah. That's the first name that came to mind. Yeah.
That became infectious when he's hustling and doing the things that need to be done, the dirty work that doesn't appear in any box score. It just seems like the rest of the team will pick up on that and run. And then Doug, I hope you're all right. Not only is it, I sense some despair in your voice. It looked like you had to finally call from a bathroom. So
he's on vacation in Florida.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if the game finally drove him to get sick, and he had figured he might as well call while he's in there. But
yeah,
I want to put the cherry on top of the Fran McCaffrey trash hour we've been having here.
Yeah.
Because I really do think that time has kind of passed for him at Iowa, and I played a little basketball in high school, but not anything in the D1 or that level. But when you look at what I think are critical moments in a college basketball game, I was always told and witnessed some of the coaches that are best. Tom Izzo, for instance, and I can't stand Michigan State, but I can't deny the success they've had under him. The last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half, and if you go back and look at a lot of these blowouts that have occurred with Iowa basketball, it has happened where Iowa's had a 10-point lead with 3 or 4 minutes to go to half, and all of a sudden it's magically tied, or Iowa's down 6 points, and then they roll into the second half and the dump trucking begins. Mm-hmm. They just get smoked to the point where Fran's actually used timeouts before the 16-minute media timeout, which is mind-blowing and amazing. That's how bad it's got. I probably would have blown my entire timeout load at the end of or in the first 4 to 8 minutes of the second half, and probably would have had 0 timeouts the rest of the way. Yeah. It seems like he just waits until the dam's already busted sometimes to call these timeouts. Now, whether they would matter any way for the ending of the game, I don't know. But you're down 4, it becomes 7, it becomes 12, you take a timeout. It becomes 20 before you take another timeout. You turn the ball over 5 times, and between that have 3 bad shots. Same 5 come back in starting order. I remember one game, and I can't remember what it is, where it was a couple of years ago, where the starting 5 got Fran so frustrated in the first 2.5 minutes of the game, he actually subbed every starter. And that was with the J-Bow team. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know he hardly has anybody left, but especially at the guard position. But situational awareness is not good at all in games. You got guys fouling 94 feet away sometimes. These teams, here's a bad thing that I jotted down and I couldn't believe it. Back in the old recreational league games, if you were getting tore up from the inside with guys just laying it up on you, you know what you started doing? You started fouling.
Yes. I thank you so much for saying that, because the number of times I've said to Cory, like, because we DM back and forth during games, and then I come on and call into the show when he's hosting, or I co-host with him, the number of times that I've said, can somebody please, like, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want anybody to hurt anybody. I don't want career-ending injuries. Can somebody flagrant foul somebody? Like, if you've just given up 10 layups in a row and your shot chart has 70 shots on the shot chart and 40 of them are right next to the basket, can we please put somebody in the game, put Evan in, and just tell him, touch up the next guard that comes in here. Make them think twice about coming in the paint again. That's what Shaq used to say. I don't know if you are much of an NBA fan, but
yeah,
I love the NBA. And Kobe and Shaq did a sit down probably 6 years ago. And they were talking about the finals against Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson famously drops 51 points on him. And Shaq said to Kobe to start game 2, send AI in here and let me touch him up. And let's see if he keeps coming. And Shaq ended up saying the thing that he respected the most about AI was the fact that AI did come in over and over again. But they would do this to guards where he would say, Kobe, you go on whoever the good guard is on the other team and let him get past. Like, just let him come to the lane and let me send a message. And that works. I'm sorry, it works, because whether or not schematically you have the ability to get inside on a team, that's one thing. But players going into the lane and thinking that, the next time I come in here, I might get hard fouled and shoved to the ground or whatever, that's a totally different thing. And if you can't do the schematics, you can't stop them, and you're not doing the physicality, it's just a layup line.
Oh, and 23 made shots, basically 2 feet away from the hoop, dunks, layups.
Yeah, they shot almost 70% from 2. Almost
So you
70.
had that many shots, and you just had 13 fouls the entire game. That barely puts you into the 1-1 in either half.
Yeah.
To me, that's a laydown. I don't. I mean, Peyton Sanford, if you really are in your feels and have this emotion for the game and the leader of the game, I would feel you need to be the one to do the flagrant one.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
as the leader, like we're not going to allow these guys to just layup line us all night long like that. And so as a Hawkeye fan forever, the thing that gets me is I can handle losing. And I'm like you. I don't have this thing where I believe that Iowa's a Final Four team or a national championship team every year. I would love to get to the second weekend of March every once in a while, and I'd be a happy camper. The women got to the Final Four 2 years in a row. I thought I could have died the next day, and I would have been great with that. Like,
Oh gosh,
you know, we're not the blue bloods of college basketball, but when you get just boat raced, and at second half especially, where at half we're within 4, we're within 3, we're playing good, and then crumbles every single time. To me, it goes back to the coach. And last point I'll make. Whatever the buyout number is, and I heard something where they could even spread it out over 3 years. Yeah. Make equal installment payments or put it on layaway, however that works. Yeah. You are losing more revenue, in my mind, by allowing him to continue to coach, and probably prospective transfers or portal interest, because in today's day of social media, players are just getting jacked when they get beat by 30 like a drum over and over and over again. And nobody wants to go through that.
Yeah.
They don't want to be
have to go on social media, and they have to listen to it, and they have to watch shows like this, and they have to listen to it. And then they have to go to interviews, and they have to hear it from reporters, and it goes on and on. Yeah. And then they're just going to look elsewhere and go, oh, if I go over there, I won't have to deal with that. Okay. They're going to pay me $100,000. See ya.
Yeah. And they're not favored in any of the last 3 games. And I guess what? Michigan State, if there's a savior, if you're going to give me one win and tell me I only can pick one win, I'd like it to be on senior day, because some of those guys on the bench and folks that have been with the program for, 4 years, 5 years, and didn't get to see the floor much, I would love to see them sent off on something like that. But based on what I've seen the last 2.5 months, just keep it within 10. Yeah. I'll be good.
It's, again, like you're saying, it's not just the losing, it's the disrespect. It's when Wisconsin players are going to the presser and saying, quote, we knew they weren't going to play defense. We knew. This is why I did this. I know people view this as a jerk move. This is what this team has been all year. They are every single Big Ten team's get-right game. You look at UCLA. UCLA was on a massive slide. What do? They go put 99 points on Iowa and kill them. Wisconsin, get-right game, drop 116 and kill them. Illinois lost 3 in a row, put 81 on us and kill us. There's 5 or 6 teams that have had multiple game losing streaks, have had rough patches that have lasted a month or two, and they need a get-right game, and they go, we play Iowa on this date, that's our get-right game. And they just decide they don't play defense, so we're going to get right against them, and then they turn their season around.
If Iowa's men's basketball was a football team, we'd beat everybody's homecoming game.
Yeah, exactly. We are every single team's get-right game.
All right, well, I appreciate the time, Kyle, and good show. And, in about, 2.5 more weeks, we should see some finality and at least the transfer portal and maybe some news on the coach. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll be a much more interesting and complex show. I think if we were talking about a coaching change, it'd be a much more dynamic feeling in here. So, yeah, right. Absolutely. Appreciate your time, Shane. Great call.
Take care.
Yep. Thanks. Great stuff from Shane there. That was good stuff. I always, it's interesting when I come on here and Circle Herc commented this. I'm going to put this comment up on the screen here because I love it. I swear I'm going crazy watching these games, and then I hear these great calls. And I'm like, okay, at least someone else is thinking the same thing I am. Exactly. I came on here like, man, I know everyone's frustrated, but has everyone got to the level that I've gotten to in terms of frustration? And I know Cory's out. He maybe won't express it the way I will, or any of everybody that's at this point. Is everybody at this level? And it turns out that yes, we are. So it's good to hear from everybody. It's good to be in this together. At least if it's going to be terrible, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible as a collective and not isolated by ourselves. We're going to hit the RTI Threads player of the game one more time. RTI Threads player of the game. Yes, it's Evan Bronze. We've been through it. He's showing effort. I'm rewarding his effort. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 of 3 from the field. Came in and did his job for 16 minutes. And he's about the only one that can say that. As the Hawkeyes went to Illinois and lost 81-61. All right. Couple things quickly, and then we're going to hit one more caller, and then I'm going to wrap this up because it is 12:05 and I am ready for some sleep and some nightmares about this game. We've got lots of stuff upcoming here. Cory will be back, and he'll be back soon. Iowa men's basketball takes on Northwestern at 8 p.m. Central on FS1 on Friday. So we'll be back for post-game coverage then, so stay tuned with us there. The women on Wednesday go to Michigan at 6 p.m. on Big Ten Plus, unfortunately. Don't love that at this point in the season, but we will be here with post-game coverage. Kasheen Alexander, Cory Brada will be here on Wednesday for that. And again on Friday as the men go to Northwestern with 3 games to go in their season. All right, final caller of the night. We're going to keep this quick because it is past my bedtime. Tom, how we doing?
Good. Hey, Kyle, what was your expectations when the season started?
Expectations, I would say, for them to be like, okay, when we say expectations, like, do we say bare minimum or like what I thought realistically the team would do?
Well, whatever, realistically.
I would have said my expectations were a low seed in the tournament, or at least to be right on the bubble and feel like, okay, we're like.
Right. So did they better their roster?
No.
Exactly.
No.
And where were they last year?
They were, they were on the bubble most of the year. They were on the bubble a lot longer than they were this year, but they were similar. Yeah.
So my expectations were not the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I think my expectations were low seed in the NCAA tournament purely because I feel like not just looking at the team, but also going, okay, like you missed it last year. The bare minimum expectation of this program should be like in a down year, you get to the NCAA tournament at low seed. But you're right.
We had hope, right?
There was like last year, there was a scenario if a couple games played out right where they made it. This year, they're
But the roster didn't get better. That's what I'm getting at.
No, it did not.
No.
It got older. So maybe, you could maybe make an argument that like, oh, Josh Dix gets another year of experience and Dembele and another year to develop. So maybe, you want to argue on the fringes. But yeah, by and large, they did not get better.
So, other than Tony and Doug, right? They're homers.
Yeah.
This team is what we all expected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And Frank can come back and it doesn't look any better for next year.
No.
No.
If anything, you're losing Evan, Peyton. Are those the only 2 contributors? Or no, you're losing what's his name that's injured? I'm blanking. The point guard. Drew Thelwell. So you're losing Drew Thelwell, Peyton, and so if anything, it looks worse for next year unless freshmen come in and really really big contributions.
Yeah, I'm I can pile on, but I'm just stating the facts. He's got a tough road.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Look, I haven't even thought about looking forward because this year's such a disaster. But yeah, unless some of those recruits that they have coming in are gonna come in and light the world on fire. Like if he returns next year, they may be even worse.
Right, and Fran's not going to pull in anybody.
No.
to make a difference maker. He's not going to do it.
Yeah. I was surprised they pulled in the Miami transfer. Honestly, I was
Yeah.
surprised at him.
It's just a tough position to be in. That's all. I mean, what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah. It's to me, and this is not my original thought. This is just kind of as people are thinking out loud here. Like they're paying him $3.5 million. What is it? Is it 3.5, 3.3, whatever.
Right.
And then now he's losing. I mean, they've got 10,000. What was their reported attendance for their last game, for their Washington game at home?
10,000.
10,000, and that number
That's
is
what was reported.
totally overinflated because that number includes a assumed 100% attendance rate of season pass holders of season ticket holders. So in reality, that number is probably like at least 2,000-3,000 lower. So like you're talking about arenas that are half full, right? So if there's 7,500 seats unfilled, or even if there's 5,000 unpaid seats, or 5,000 unpaid seats at an average of, I don't know, $50 a seat or $30 a seat.
Well, I mean, the rumor is Jack's gone, and supposedly he's going to be gone too. I mean, that's the rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go to IC, that's what everybody thinks in Iowa City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And by the way, there's stuff flying around now too, and I won't name which player, but in case I don't know what's out there, what's already been reported and what hasn't, but like about people leaving. Like there's at least a couple of players that I think will, like, if Fran returned, there's at least a couple players, and maybe it's regardless of if Fran returns, that will be transferring at the end of the year. Like this, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose a couple of players.
Well, I'm not a Fran fan. I'm not calling on here to pile on him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got stories, but that's beside the point. I'm not. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
If he come back next year, best of luck to him, right?
I mean, I'm still rooting for him. I would still love to see him. I'd love to see him come back and prove all of us wrong and make a run to the Sweet 16. Man, like that'd be nice. I'm an Iowa fan before anything else. So like I'm not gonna hate Fran at the expense of my own team.
And if you look at his stats and what he's done, it's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible. Yeah, it's not terrible. It's just not great. It's just not. It's not great or very good because of the postseason.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll let you go, Kyle.
Yeah, good to have you and everybody else tonight. It's these are tough nights, Tom. These are tough nights after you go watch a late night game and watch your team get killed, and these are tough. But all right, let's wrap up, everybody. Still got 100 people with us. I appreciate every single one of you for sticking with us for the better part of 2 hours after that absolute travesty. Iowa defeats Illinois, or Illinois defeats Iowa. My brain's fried now. Illinois defeats Iowa 81-61. Iowa falls to 15-13 overall, 6-11 in conference play, and now on the bubble of the Big Ten tournament, not the NCAA tournament, with 3 games to go against Northwestern, Michigan State, and Nebraska. We will be back on Wednesday with women's post-game coverage. We'll be back again on Friday with men's post-game coverage, regardless of the result. Cory will be back. Kashin will be back. Hopefully Coach Close will be back. And we can talk Hawkeye hoops from now until hopefully well into March with the women. But for now, going to sign off and try to process this one. All right, everybody. Appreciate your time. Have a great night.